How's it going, everybody? Welcome to VeryBadDeckTech. My name is Jared, and today we're going to be talking about Eshki, Temur's Roar. She's my favorite commander from Tarkir Dragonstorm. Eshki is a 2-2 for green, blue, red, and can also be found in the Temur Roar Precon as the face commander. Eshki's ability gives her a +1/+1 counter whenever you cast a creature spell. Then, if that creature has 4 or more power, you draw a card. If that creature has 6 or more power, you draw a card and also deal damage to each opponent equal to Eshki's power. A lot of people like to build this as a stompy commander, and the precon is actually a dragon tribal deck, and those deck constructs are mostly fine, but I prefer to use Eshki's third ability to do a lot of damage to the table by triple and quadruple casting 6 power creatures, and I've tailored the deck around this idea. Now with all that out of the way, let's get into the list. Because our commander loves creature spells, this deck consists almost entirely of creatures and lands, specifically creatures with at least 4 power, since each one of those is going to functionally be a draw spell as long as Eshki is in play. All the creatures with less than 4 power in this deck are either mana dorks or provide us with some kind of discount effect. Selvala, Leafkin Avenger, and Fanatic of Ronus are each going to be able to generate us a ton of mana, while Animar and Temur Battlecrier can discount our creature spells and even let us cast some of our creatures for free. Also, cards like Defiler of Vigor and Goreclaw are going to provide us discounts as well, also providing some additional utility in the form of +1/+1 counters or trample. Once we're up on mana, we'll want to start dealing some damage with Eshki, and this leads into my favorite aspect of the deck. This is the meat. This is the juice of the deck. To make sure that we're able to consistently multicast large creature spells, I've included some weird overstated critters, mostly in the 3 to 4 CMC range. These guys either sacrifice themselves, like Cosmic Larva and Phyrexian Soulgorger, or they can't attack immediately when you play them, like Erexmethes or Traxos. The downside of these cards is mitigated by the fact that each profoundly bad 6 power creature we cast is going to grow our commander, draw us a card, and deal damage to each opponent. You can feel free to go crazy with these when you're brewing. I've included a good amount here, but if you have a favorite 3 or 4 mana, 4 to 6 power creature that doesn't really do anything, this would actually be a great place for it. The concentration of these 6 power creatures in the deck also gives us a great chance of cascading into multiple of them with Apex Devastator and Maelstrom Wanderer. For a little bit of that sweet consistency, I've also included a self-bounce suite, and these are all creatures that either return themselves to my hand, like a Pangasaur or an imaginary pet, or they can return other creatures to my hand, like Species Gorger and Temur Sabertooth. In a similar vein to those, Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, and the Foretold Soldier both provide low CMC 6 power options that you can cast repeatedly. I would definitely recommend Foretold Soldier. That's a highlight here, since it only costs you 2 mana to recast it from exile, so you can definitely exploit that. With our commander being such a nice draw engine, I decided to keep the other card draw options fairly basic. I've included Elemental Bond and Garruk's Uprising, as well as Temur Ascendancy, since they all synergize with casting high power creatures. And then I have creatures like Outcaster Trailblazer, Sabsunin Luxa Embodied, and Shaman of the Great Hunt, since they can draw us cards while also triggering our commander, since each of them has at least 4 power. I also included Rishkar's Expertise and Monstrous Vortex as additional ways to see cards, not necessarily card draw, but they also give us the benefit of casting spells for free. Monstrous Vortex is great here as well because it can trigger itself, so you could storm off with Eshki triggers, assuming you get the right hits from Discover. As far as direct interaction goes, I've included a good number of counterspells here, as well as Heroic Intervention. You'll want to hold these for protecting your board state from board wipes for the most part. I've got 6 pieces, but there's definitely room to get aggressive in either direction, so I would recommend tweaking this until it feels right in your games. For removal, I've focused on pieces that would trigger my commander, like Ureni, Hullbreaker Horror, and Chandra's Incinerator. Chandra's Incinerator is definitely the star of this group, since our commander deals a lot of non-combat damage, so you can usually cheat this out for just 1 red mana, and it should trigger multiple times a turn as long as Eshki stays out. Now that we've gone over the build, I also wanted to cover 3 cards that could and probably should be in the deck if you decide to build it for yourself. These cards work perfectly with everything that the deck is trying to do, but they don't appear in my list either for price, vibes, or because I didn't think about it. Purphoros, God of the Forge, is an excellent burn option that you could add in that would definitely help speed up your games. It's sitting around $23 today, but if that's not an issue for you or your playgroup is cool with proxies, this is definitely a card that I would look to include. Terror of the Peaks, same thing, another great burn option that deals damage to any target based on the power of any creature spells you cast. This one's around $31, and it would definitely be a nice addition as well. The last card that I want to highlight here is actually a group of cards. This is any damage multiplier. This could look like Soul Theme, Sawhorn Nemesis, City on Fire, pretty much whatever you want and or have already. These will speed up your games tremendously. The only guidance I would give here is that it probably will feel better just with Eshki's ability to focus on creatures that have this effect rather than enchantments, but it's ultimately up to you. Last thing I want to go over here is just a few best practices for when you're managing the deck in-game. It's fairly straightforward to pilot, but there's a few things you're going to want to keep in mind. The first thing is that this is a tricolor deck, so just make sure that you have all your colors in your opening hand, or at least a way to get to all of your colors within a couple of turns. If you don't have that, do yourself a favor and take a mulligan. Second thing that you're going to want to look for in your opening hand is some ramp. It doesn't really matter if it's a mana dork or a spell, but I would heavily weigh in favor of discount effects here, since those do have a tendency to get more valuable the longer they stay on the board, especially Animar. The rest of your hand can be pretty much anything you want, just make sure that you have spells to cast and you should be having a good time. As far as the piloting goes, you can be pretty aggressive here. I wouldn't be overly concerned about dumping your hand. You're going to be drawing plenty of cards from Eshki anyway. And since we don't need to go to combat to win, we don't really need a lot of creatures on board either, so you don't need to fear board wipes. Just do your best to hold up interaction to protect Eshki, since if she gets taxed out of the game, things can get much more challenging. Alright, that's all I've got for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. You can find the full deck list in the description if you'd like to try it for yourself, or if you'd like to use it as a starting point to make something better. Let me know in the comments what commanders you'd like to see next, and if you think the deck sucks, we can argue about that in the comments too. This has been a Very Bad Deck Tech. I have been Jared, and I will see you all in the next video. Stay safe out there.